In this video, we take a look at the MakerHawk electronic load tester. This is fantastic if you want to know what your battery capacity is, if you're running AGMs, sealed lead acid, lithium batteries for all kinds of uses. You can get yourself one of these and find out if the capacity specs that are given to you when you purchase the battery are actually what you're getting. We're going to do a review. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Well, I just recently released a video talking about how I had a lithium battery failure when I was on my 6-week trip. And unfortunately, I did not have a capacity tester, so I couldn't test what was going on with my battery. I suspected that I had a battery that wasn't putting out the power that it was supposed to be putting out, but I had no way of testing it. So when I got back from my trip, I said, I need a capacity load tester. So I went ahead and ordered this MakerHawk electronic load tester. I'm going to put a link down in the description below where you can pick up one of these. And it immediately told me that my battery was not putting out pretty much anything. It shut off after, I think, 0.2 amp hours. So for a 100 amp hour battery, that's really, really bad. As a matter of fact, it's a complete battery failure. So I've been working through the process of getting a replacement battery, and I released that video, but I thought I'd do a standalone video on the MakerHawk load tester so that you can see whether having one of these in your toolbox is a good tool for you. I would say, guys, that if you are designing, a solar system for your camper, or you're designing a little 12-volt battery with an inverter system for in the car or in your tent or whatever, if you want some battery power while you're camping, having a way to test your load to make sure your battery is performing the way it's supposed to is really good. And guys, these are affordable. So the problem is a lot of the load testers for batteries and stuff are super expensive. This is under $50, so it's definitely an affordable tool to have. I mean, guys, if you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on lithium batteries and lithium battery banks, don't you want to make sure that your batteries are actually outputting what the manufacturer says? I mean, I do. So it was definitely worth it to me. First of all, I'm going to go through basically what it comes with, and then we're going to go through how it works, and then we're going to put it on a battery and we're going to test it. So right out of the box, ignore the black and red cable. I've already made those and installed them. But basically, it's just a circuit board, right? So it's a circuit board with a capacitor and a fan, right? And then a screen display and some knobs. So it's not even in a case or anything, so it's kind of unique. And I would say it's also pretty fragile. This is definitely not something you're going to want to drop. You drop this once, it's not going to make it. And then these aluminum fans are very thin. These fins are really fragile because they're thin. So you definitely don't want to bend those. And then the fan is plastic. So this is not a rugged piece of kit. So you're going to want to be careful with that. But basically what it comes with is it comes with the unit itself. It comes with a power supply. So regular wall wart power supply with a plug-in, and the output is 9 volts at 1 amp. So I don't know very many of these power supplies I have that are 9 volts at 1 amp, so definitely don't want to lose it. All right, I want to keep it with it. And then in the box, so basically when it ships in the box, it ships in kind of a plain box, and then it's in a plastic case. And like I said, I've already had it open. This was the box the power supply came in. And then it comes with a couple of things. So it comes with an adapter for the AC plug, and I guess that's for European use, I guess. So I will never use that because I've never taken this thing to Europe. But I'm guessing they ship it all over the world, so there's that. And then they come with a few little alligator clip type wires. So if you're, connecting to something, you could wire these up. And then it also comes with a USB alligator clip type thing. And I'm not totally sure what this is for. I basically bought it to test, my lithium batteries for my battery bank. So what I did was I took some, 10 gauge cable, and then I put some ends on it, some ring terminals, so I can test batteries. So in addition to testing, batteries with ring terminals like the big 100 amp hour batteries, this thing will test all kinds of things. So it's got a lot of inputs on the side. So it's got, not only your ring terminals, but it's got your standard, pin type DC in, so you can test a battery, through that connector. And then it's got all kinds of these USB. So it's got, looks like it's got mini, it's got micro, and it's got USB-C ends. And what's cool about that is you can test, little battery banks. So if you've got a little battery bank, you can test that and see, how much, power it stores and that kind of thing. So really, really cool. First of all, there's two power delivery methods, guys. As I said, there's this one, and it plugs in at the top, right? But it also has a USB in right there. So you can power this unit via USB, which is, pretty cool as well. So technically you could use this in the field, power it off of a USB battery bank. You wouldn't even need this. I'm not sure how much current it draws. DC 6 to 12 volts at 1 amp. So obviously, you can do the math. You have to have a big enough battery bank to run the thing. And obviously, if you're testing your battery bank, you can't test it and run it at the same time. So you'd have to have two different battery banks to run it off DC. Makes sense. Okay, what this says is that it says the body discharge power cannot exceed 150 watts, otherwise there's a risk of burnout. And so what you do is once you connect it up to your battery, there are these knobs. One is a coarse control knob, and then one is a fine control knob. And you can turn those until you are sucking 150 watts of power. Now, when you power the thing, it's set up to draw 185 watts of power. And I've seen different videos on this. Some people saying, hey, this thing is designed to blow up right out of the box. And so you have to set limits, and we're gonna go over that in a minute. But you have to set limits, otherwise you're gonna blow up the thing right out of the box. Other people have said, no, the instructions are being conservative. You can run it at what it said out of the box, the 185 watts, and it will be fine. So I've used this a couple of times, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I've tested it out a few times before I'm making the video. I figure, I need to be educated on this thing before I do a review on it, right? So I've run it a few times. I ran it once at 150 watts, it did fine, or 148. And then I said, what the heck? You guys are worth it. If I blow it up, I'm out $43 or whatever it is I paid for it, but at least you guys will know. So I cranked her all the way up. I screwed the limits and said, let's go ahead and draw it at 185. Let's go ahead and draw it at full power. And sure enough, it drained a full 100 amp hour battery at 185 watts, no problem. So I would say that you don't have to worry about limiting it to 150 watts, but if you want to, you certainly can. I'm glad at least that what it's set to right out of the box isn't going to blow up. That's good. So with that, let's get the thing set up, let's get it powered on, and we will go over how to set this up to load test a battery. Check it out. Okay guys, so we have it all powered up here, and I have the positive terminal attached to the battery, but I don't have the negative terminal yet because I kind of wanted to show you the screen before anything is connected up. So the first thing that you're going to have is you're going to have a screen when you power it up that's all in Chinese, right? So that's not very helpful unless you speak Chinese. So you hit the first button, and then that will change it to English, right? So you have your volts up top, the capacity in amp hours, the energy in watt hours, and then the time it took to decrease it. You're going to have your current load over here. You're going to have your temperature in Celsius. And then I don't remember what off is. But if I go ahead and attach the negative lead to the battery, you're going to see my voltage jump up to 13.3 volts. So automatically you know that the battery's got some power because it's registering some power there with the 13.3 volts. So go ahead and take that off. Now, until I turn the knob and spin the fan, it's not drawing any power, right? So there's another screen though that I prefer to this one. Actually, there's a couple more. So there's this screen, right, which gives you the same information just in a different display. So it's got your volts and your amps, watts, amp hours, watt hours, and time. And then if I press it again, it gives you the same information again in another screen. So I think I like this screen the most. But you know, you can do anything you want to set it up. After that, guys, there are some settings that you're going to want to take a look at. So if you keep hitting the button, so this is backlight. The backlight is on the screen, and hopefully you guys can see this. I think you can. So, okay, guys, so what this screen is this is your max voltage, and this thing is only designed to run up to 200 volts. So I'm going to go ahead and increase it from 150 to 200. And I do that by pressing the button twice. So as you can see, if you press it twice, it goes up. If I long press it, it'll run it up. Now I'm going to go past 200 on purpose. So I go past 200. Okay. Oops. Let me just go past it a little bit farther. Okay. So I want to be under 200 volts. So if I want to go down, I press it 3 times. Right? And then if I long press, it'll go down. So you've got to do it, you know, you've got to press it twice to go up and then long press, or you've got to press it 3 times to go down and then long press, right? So, and of course it times out and goes back to the screen. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do 1, 2, take it back up to 200. Now the next screen is your cutoff, right? And this is really important for like sealed lead acid batteries and AGM batteries and that kind of thing. You don't want to draw the battery down, you know, too far, right? So you want to leave some capacity left in those batteries. So you can set that low voltage cutoff, right? But for me, because I'm testing lithium batteries, I'm going to leave that at 0 because I'm going to let the BMS in the battery shut down. I want to know what I can get out of this battery until the BMS says, nope, you've had enough. So I'm going to leave that at 0. Okay, guys, so the next screen is current. I'm not worried about current. And then the last screen here is watts, right? And so it's set at 185 watts. Now it can go up, right? So you can send this thing, you know, up, but the instructions say you want to be 150 watts or less because it's the capacity. So I'm going to go back to 185. Right, and that's what it's set to out of the box. Now, it's interesting that the instructions say 150 watts, but it's set to 185 watts out of the box. Now, I have tested both. I've watched a couple of other YouTubers on this. Some say it has to be set to 150 watts. Others say running it at 185 is just fine. I've tested it both ways, but I think for something like this, I don't want to push it too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it to 150. So that's a 3 press, right? And then a long press to go ahead and take it down to 150. Right? All right. So testing batteries from this point in time is really easy. So we're going to go back to the screen I like. How about this one? So what I'm going to do now is get the battery connected. All right, so everything is connected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the coarse knob up until this gets close to 150 watts. And as I turn it up, you'll see the numbers increasing. There's 120. 124, 134, 142. Now I'm at 145. Now I'm going to adjust the fine knob until I get close to 150. So I'm at, oops, see, so I went over, and so it's beeping at me. So I have to turn it back down. Press the button and we'll start over. So turn it back up. All right, and so I'm at 125 watts. I'm going to go ahead and turn up the coarse knob, or the fine knob, I mean, and get as close to 150. So I'm at 145 almost. There's 147. So there we are, 148 to 149. So I'm going to leave that like that and let it run. So what you're going to notice is that it is drawing 148, 149 watts out of the battery. So that's 11.4 amps. So you can tell the temperature has jumped up to 62 degrees C from 24. So it's definitely putting out heat, and I can actually feel it. So far we've drawn 0.36 amp hours out of the battery, total of 4.88 watt hours, and we've run it for 2 minutes and 19 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to just let this run until it shuts off, because once the BMS says, hey, you've taken everything out you can take out, this will shut itself down, the timer will stop, and it'll give me the amp hour capacity of the battery. So pretty simple. So I'm going to go ahead and let it run, and I'm going to come back when it's done. All right, so you can see that the MakerHawk has finished its test. As you can see, it's only receiving 0.07 volts, which means the BMS shut down on the battery, and it drew 101.59 amp hours out of the battery. So this 100 amp hour battery is indeed a 100 amp hour battery, and it pulled out 1,294.77 watt hours, which is exactly what it should be. This MakerHawk took 8 hours and 54 minutes and 21 seconds total time to draw out that amount of power, which is not bad for a battery test this size. I would like to be able to draw 20 amps out on a test, but this unit doesn't have that capability, so it's only going to draw out about 10 amps at a time. I think we were drawing out a total of about 11 amps. So, but it worked just fine. It just took longer. If it could draw out 20 amps, obviously it would have cut that time in about half. But if you're testing a big battery, then just know that it is going to run a significant amount of time. So the last thing to mention is, if you want to reset the device after use, what you do is you just hold the button down and it will clear everything out, and it's ready for its next test. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this battery and go ahead and power down and give you some final thoughts. All right, guys, so that is a test of the MakerHawk capacity tester. I really like it, although I am going to do a few things in future tests. So number one is anytime I'm testing a battery that's large like this, where I'm going to walk away and let this thing run, what I want to do is add a fuse to the positive line. I'm worried about a dead short, that if this circuit board ever decides to fail, that it'll fail on a dead short and it'll be drawing as much power out of this battery as it possibly can, which could potentially cause a fire when I'm not around. So while I did this test without a fuse, I don't recommend that, and it's definitely not what I'm going to do long term. The other thing is before I shut the thing down, I'm going to turn all the knobs back down to 0. And the next time I do the test, I'm going to go ahead and power it up and just check to make sure all the parameters are set right before I do a battery test. All in all, guys, I really like it because it tells me exactly what my capacity is on my batteries, and that's really, really important to me. I want to make sure that that the batteries are doing what's advertised, and in my case, because I had a battery failure, I set this up, I turned the knob up to run, and I only got 0.2 or 0.02 amp hours out of a 100 amp hour battery, which told me that there was definitely something wrong with that battery. So great tool for the tool bench, to test out your batteries. Again, it is not a rugged piece of equipment. You definitely want to be careful with it. I'm going to actually store it in its plastic in the box so that it's protected when it's not in use. But I definitely think that it is going to come in handy as I test a variety of batteries and power banks. So you're probably going to see it in future videos. I've got a couple more batteries that I'm going to acquire for the cargo camper. I think I'm going to do some 206 amp hour SOK. I don't know if it's SOC or SOK batteries for the cargo camper, and then I'm doing a portable power build with these 100 amp hour Wise batteries. So if you like 12 volt stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon that notifies you when we release new videos, and give me a thumbs up on this video if you like this. So again, guys, I'm going to put a link down in the description below where you can pick up one of these MakerHawk capacity testers. And yeah, I think anybody who's building their own battery system should have one of these to test it out. Guys, if you have any questions, drop some in the comments below, and I would be happy to try and answer them. I am not an electrician, so I may not know everything about it, but I will certainly try and get you any information that you might need. But all in all, guys, I think anybody can pick one of these up and use them. You just have to be a little cautious and make sure that your parameters are set right so that you're not overloading anything. I will also say, though, guys, is when you try to overload it, it has a protection, and so it will shut itself off, as you saw when I first connected the battery. So I'm happy from that standpoint. It doesn't seem like it wants to let me blow it up, but it just makes sense to try to not overload it. Stick to the specs that's listed. I have seen videos of guys run this at a max capacity of 185 watts instead of the 150. I've actually also tested it at 185 watts and it works. But I just figure, the instruction says, 150 watts or less, so I just run it at 150. If you do turn it up to 185 watts, it will draw a larger battery down faster. But, again, I don't know why the instructions say it's rated to 150 yet programmed for 185 watts. It's probably not a problem to run it at 185 watts, but that is totally up to you. So guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. We exist to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. We want to help you get you and your kids outside. One of the things that's really happening these days is people are installing 12 volt battery systems on their campers, in their vans, in their boats, all kinds of stuff. People are using 12 volt lithium batteries to power all kinds of things. And so if you're someone who needs electricity when you're outside camping, whatever, and you're designing your own battery system, definitely gonna want something like this. So We want to help you understand how to do all this stuff. That's why we're making these videos. So I hope, again, that you enjoyed the video. You can also connect with us on other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. We'd love for you to connect with us there. Or you can connect with us at our website at kempoutside.com. Guys, we have a whole lot more coming, so I hope you'll stay tuned. See you next time.